Good evening. The family of a Plymouth man who was stabbed to death 5 years ago have received a formal apology from Devon and Cornwall Police for fundamental errors in their investigation.
27-year-old Tanis Bhandari was murdered on New Year's Eve in 2014. Two men were later jailed for life. But a new report released today sets out a catalogue of errors in the monitoring of one of the attackers. Sam Blackledge reports.
Tanis Bhandari's family want to hold on to their happy memories. But the events of New Year's Day 2015 will stay with them forever. Tanis was brutally murdered in an unprovoked attack. Even after all this time, his mother is still trying to piece it all together.
You always think it's not going to happen to you or one of yours. So it was totally shattering. It was slowly unravelled, you know, like when you found out what had happened, and then the catalogue of disasters that led up to it happening. It was just unbelievable. You know, each one just took your breath away. You couldn't believe it.
In December 2014, Donald Pemberton, seen here under the blue dot, was arrested in a street in Plymouth for brandishing a pair of meat cleavers. Pemberton was on licence from prison, a fact that should have meant he stayed in custody. But this information was not on the police national computer, and Pemberton was free to go. 2 weeks later, he and another man went out armed with knives and an axe, and Tanis Bhandari was dead.
If the P&C had been checked and properly updated with his information, he would not have been bailed that night, and therefore he'd have gone back to prison.
Since the moment Tanis lost his life here in the village where he grew up, his family have been fighting for a formal apology from Devon and Cornwall Police. Today, more than 5 years later, they finally received it.
Information wasn't shared between agencies that could have had an impact on the way individuals were managed within that criminal justice system. Now, whether they would have any impact on the awful subsequent outcome, nobody can be sure, but what we can be sure about is that agencies could have operated more effectively.
So do you think Donald Pemberton should not have been at liberty on that New Year's Eve?
So that's a really interesting question. You know, as a police officer, everything I've seen, read and heard about this tells me that he shouldn't have been, frankly. Now, whether that's down to the fact of the failings identified in the report and the issues for Devon and Cornwall Police or our partners in the criminal justice system, that's probably going too far to say that had things been different, he wouldn't have been. But everything tells me that he shouldn't have been because of the risk he posed to the public.
The police insist their staff are better trained and the systems have improved. But while they welcome today's report, Tanis's family will never forget the moment his life was cut short. Sam Blackledge, ITV News, Plymouth.